Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Home Education Today. And today we are pleased to have Brian Ruka visiting with us about some recent events in his life. And I've been excited to have him on this show ever since I heard his story on the Blaze. And he's had quite an adventure with that. He's also obviously his own, obviously, but he's a podcaster in his own right. So check out his podcast. It's called, what is it called, Brian, again?
Right and Wrong.
Right and Wrong. That's what I remembered. So I'm going to turn the time over to you and let you tell your story and all about you, because that's why you're here.
Oh, wow. Great. Thank you. What an introduction. I love it. Well, thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate reaching out to me and give me an opportunity to share the story with you and all your listeners.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. You mentioned you work for the city of Boston. Tell us about your job a little bit, and then what happened to you with your son and the schools and stuff. What's the story?
So I work as a security officer for the city of Boston, and that is probably the boring part of my life, because it's a lot of sitting around waiting for something to happen. But what really brought me to your show and got me into wanting to start my own podcast was seeing an assignment that was given to my son Brody in his 5th grade reading class. So the story was about a boy named Malcolm that decided that he wanted to become non-binary. And throughout the whole story, it is about this child struggling with how to present that to their friends and colleagues and family members. And the main character, Malcolm, talks to his grandmother and to another friend throughout the book. And the thing that caught my attention and my wife's attention was just the title of it right off the bat. The title of the story is called The Gender Reveal. So that, raised the red flag for us. And then looking into it, that's when, I started reading it, saw the story, and I was surprised because it was already after the kids had done the assignment too, which was a little frustrating for me. So I read the story. I didn't agree with what was being presented in the story. And I don't think that my 10-year-old who just turned 11, that's how old he is. I don't think that's really a topic that is at the maturity level that those kids are at these days.
So back up a little bit and tell us a little bit more about this book. So was it presenting things in a negative light? Like just tell us more about how that storyline went with this reveal.
Okay. It basically comes from a point of view as there's nothing, nothing abnormal, I guess, about this entire process. It's kind of nonchalant, like the way it's talked about. The character definitely is concerned with the reactions that they might get. But there's never a conversation that takes place about, like, wait a minute, why do you feel that way? Or why are you uncomfortable being who you are? Like, why do you have to change? Or why are you
uncomfortable with anybody in your circle of your family? Why would they react? Why would they care? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
If there's something different about it, then why would they care?
Yeah. And the biggest concern for me is that it comes across, the whole story comes across as a way to indoctrinate the kids into this gender ideology that's kind of sweeping through the country at the moment.
Yeah. So kids at an early age, as early as possible, you really ought to be thinking about whether you really are what your parents tell you are, what society tells you are, or what you think you are. You shouldn't take that for granted. We shouldn't just assume you're a boy or a girl. You may be neither. Or you could be whatever you want day to day, depending on how that serves you.
Exactly. And I guess not to skip forward too far if we're trying to go concise or go like, the way the story goes with it. But by the end of the story, when the character does make this announcement at their 13th birthday party, it's the kid is treated with like a hero's welcome. So round of applause from the entire party. Parents come up and hug him and say they're so proud of him. And it's treated like he just won the Super Bowl.
Wow.
And the message at the end of it to me, like, again, like I'm like, wait, the first thought was, am I reading too much into it? But I mean, at the end of the day, it seems like it's promoting that to a kid who might be looking for some extra attention or just looking for a way to make them different than the rest of their peers. And then it provides like a shield for that kid as well, that they learn that they can be shielded from any criticism or
Right.
anything like that, because now they're going to be in that, protected class.
And is that realistic? I mean, obvious question. Is it realistic that they will never receive any criticism or any pushback or any, effects in their life at any age? No,
not at all.
The truth is, this convincing a child that this is normal, that it should be totally accepted and tolerated, and that there are no effects from that is so damaging. It's so traumatic when it happens that you can't even calculate the kind of damage that does to a child when they find out that, if they become convinced they're non-binary and they fall in love with somebody, or they come across any number of a boss, a coworker, a person on the street, somebody they live next door to, and that person rejects them because of that. That is the most confusing thing ever. I mean, you and I walking through life know we're going to have those reactions. We know we're going to get some people that don't like us. And a wise parent raises a child to say, yeah, you're going to have your likes and your dislikes, and you're going to have to be tough enough to say, I'm good who I am. And I expect to have some disappointments.
Absolutely. I think the kids these days would be a lot better off if they were taught sticks and stones may break their bones, but words will never hurt them. That's
what I taught my 6. Yeah, that's what I taught my 6. It's like people are going to say whatever they're going to say, and that adage is super true. So you read the book. Is there anything else you want to tell us about that story? So everybody in his life just said, this is the most wonderful thing that we've ever heard, Malcolm.
Yep. Yeah. There is a point too where he is struggling, I guess, while at school. Like I think they're in like the track or something, and not struggling, but just like a friend is talking to him and like, oh, it looks like something's on your mind. What's up? Like, and he starts talking about, I got this decision to make and to tell everybody that, and I don't know if everyone's going to be okay with it. And the response from one of his classmates was, what are you worried about? You told us you were gay years ago. This is no big deal. Like, so then that's another reference where it's like, wait a minute, this kid's turning 13 years old, and years ago is vague, but even call it 2 years ago, this kid's telling people in school that he's gay, and like the kids that age shouldn't even know what makes you gay or not.
They don't.
It's a sexuality. It's a sexual preference.
Yeah. And as a father of a 10, 11-year-old, you know that unless they've been really over sexualized, unless they've been exposed to a lot of this in the home through pornography, through whatever, or a lot of discussion about it, or they have somebody in their life, who's over sexualizing them, they have no idea what that means. They have no clue, really, let alone what the consequences of such a decision means.
Yep.
So you read this book, you realize this is in the after. What was the assignment? What were they supposed to be
So
talking about with this book?
so it was just a simple reading comprehension assignment. So there was nothing, no questions to answer after the fact that had to do with the particular like topics, but more like how, how was the situation handled, or um, just kind of trying to understand those like takeaway things, like, the way the end of your book, end of a chapter in school would have like the 5 questions to answer.
Yeah, reading comprehension. So we'll jump ahead to what happened after that and what your reaction was to it. Because if I remember the story correctly, you went to the school board meeting to talk about this. But I want to bring in a point that most parents don't realize what the very open standards and guidelines are in any given school district in this country, which usually come from the federal government, and they could tweak them or, emphasize or de-emphasize as they decide, each school district. But if you go into the online standard guidelines for each school district, you can go on, like mine is, it's oregoneducation.org or something. And it will tell you right there what each grade is learning in each subject. And they do start with sex education in kindergarten. And they start talking about this in kindergarten, and it says it right there. I'm not making it up. Anybody can go and they just Google whatever. What are my educational standards in Missouri or Massachusetts or Texas or whatever? And then, this page will come up and it will give you what their standards are. And they start teaching them acceptance of transgenderism and what transgenderism is and how we treat people who are transgender, as well as all the critical race theory stuff. It's not called critical race theory. It's called, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Sometimes they use all different kinds of words. And then they also have now social emotional learning, which is also a mixture of the transgender, sexual identity curriculums combined with the critical race theory. So they hit it on all levels. And beginning in kindergarten, they're hitting this, and they're not. You just have to know what the words are, what the code words are, on that page to understand what your kids are. So that's one thing I would encourage everybody to just do your own research and find out, and then go to your school board and say, what does this mean? What exactly is being taught? What books are being used? What exercises, what discussions are we having? And things will begin to, and they will refuse. Oftentimes they will just say, that's not your problem, because you're not an expert, you're not a teacher, and you don't have the authority. So anyway, so you tell me what happened after that.
So the first step that I did was send an email, reach out to the principal of the school, and he got back to me after a couple of days, and even like apologized for like the response time, because he was like, "Oh, I had to bring this to the equity office within the Boston Public School System and get the guidance from them on how to respond to you."
This is such deep water. I can't even respond to you.
Yeah.
Wow.
So had a conversation with him, and he's a nice guy, and didn't really make a stance, or let his stance be known how he felt about it one way or another. Just pretty much listened and said like the textbook responses, and
patted you on the head.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And then referred me to the equity office, mm-hmm. Gave me like their information. So I did the same thing. I sent them the email, pretty much exactly like the one I sent to him, describing the concerns I had. And we set up a call to have, and, about a week after the original thing is when I was able to get on the phone with someone from the equity office. And that was where it really sank in that in no man's land here in the deep blue state of Massachusetts. But the woman that I spoke with, I told her the conversation lasted less than 5 minutes because I said, we're literally speaking two separate languages here. We couldn't even agree on the terminology we were going to use to have the conversation. So it went nowhere, like absolutely nowhere. And she said that like her part of the conversation was to tell me that she was denying my request for a religious exemption. So, I mean, and that's sorry that I kind of left that out. That was what I said in my email was that, transgender ideology. It's just, I'm a Catholic and I believe there's a man and a female. God created Adam and Eve, put us here, and we can't just decide on a whim that we want to be a different sex or whatever. So that's what I was like, it's against my religious beliefs. It's against my parental beliefs and everything.
I believe it's harming my child.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, regardless of your religious beliefs, I believe that indoctrinating a child with this sort of these ideas at that age in a school where I'm not there to talk about it with them is harmful to my child, because they're going to come home and say, what are they talking about, Dad?
Absolutely. And
then I have to decide if I'm going to say, you can't trust anything the school says, or I'm going to say, don't worry about it, honey. We'll figure this out later, or whatever you try to say.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And a great point that my wife brought up to me when we were talking about it was, are the teachers that are reading a story like that even prepared to answer a question that like you just asked? Like, what if a kid asked that question in the middle of class? Like, are they trained in this? Is it and any of it? Like, how I would feel uncomfortable trying to talk to someone who's not my own kid about.
It's hard enough with your own kids, right? Let alone somebody else's kids.
Absolutely.
But more likely, most kids are not going to have be brave enough to do that. They're going to go out on the playground and try to figure it out.
Yeah.
And then we have the blind leading the blind. We have complete confusion.
Yeah, absolutely.
At this point, you have to, if the teachers in the school system doesn't know that, then you have to really start to wonder. And if they do know it, then you better start wondering even harder, because they're trying to sow confusion. So there's really no good thing that's going to come of this. I think what they are thinking is that some child is going to come to them on the one-on-one or go to the school counselor, and that this is going to be handled very privately.
Mm-hmm.
But all you have to do is be in a public school for 5 minutes. And no, that's not true.
Yep.
So that when you start thinking about all the ways this can go and the implications, then you do start to just get,
It's a snowball effect. Like it's peeling back a layer of the onion.
It needs not to be peeled.
Mm-mm.
So you got nowhere with the equity department of the Boston school system. No surprise. No surprise. Have you ever seen any of these libs on TikTok videos?
Oh yeah, they're great.
And what's funny about that?
They're not great.
No, but they're just amazing.
It's great
they're amazing.
Yeah, that it's exposed.
And the thing that's so interesting. I was just watching one the other day, and you walk away going, this gal says, I'm not trying to indoctrinate children. I'm simply trying to have social justice and equity. And you go, you're so far into this with your purple hair, bright purple hair, and your tattoos and your piercings, teaching children, that you don't even realize that's not your job.
Yep.
Social justice and equity is not the school's job. They've gone so far from the purpose of public schools that they don't even realize they're in a whole nother universe than what we as parents thought for forever was going on there. I mean, I took my kids out 25 years ago because of CRT. They were teaching CRT where it
Wow.
wasn't called CRT then. I've told the story a couple of times, but I sat on a school site council 25 years ago, right about this time. They introduced a curriculum into the 8th grade social studies. My son was going into 8th grade the next fall. And it was studying all the bad things that the whites did to the indigenous tribe there in the area where we lived, in Northern California. And then all the white kids had to write apology letters.
Oh yeah,
to the Native American kids. And I said, my kid's not going to do that. No, we have nothing to do with this. And that was 150 years ago. So I'm really sorry for what happened. It's wrong. I don't mind learning about it, but we're not doing that. And when that was met with deaf ears, I can't go there. I guess I got to figure this other thing out. I can't go there. Yeah. I had no interest in homeschooling. That was not in my realm of anything. Never regretted it though. 25 years later, it's been awesome.
Well, I think that's such an important story for you to tell and share, and to get that info out there, because from someone who's just starting experiencing this, the thought of like homeschooling feels so overwhelming, and like, wait a minute, how do you even go about this, like, or anything?
Well, let's talk about, I didn't mean to talk about that.
No.
But if you wanted, we'll just for a few minutes just explore that. I'll give you a couple of free coaching tips. How's that?
I love it.
Okay. So then what do you do next? I mean, nobody's listening. So what do you do next? What was your next step?
So with this story, I, after getting nowhere with the people there, I actually reached out to a reporter from the Daily Wire named Mary Margaret Olahan. Sorry, Mary Margaret Olahan. So I just saw her on Twitter. Like and again, I'm not very tech savvy and into that stuff. I started using Twitter like once I kind of started with the podcast a little bit, and that started in March. So I'm very new to Twitter still, and I just realized that that's where you kind of have to be, I think, if you want to try to grow your message. Right. So I'm a big fan of the Daily Wire. That's a place I'm subscribed to. I listen to the podcast there, like read the articles, all that stuff. And I happened to see her, follow her on Twitter. So I sent her a message and just kind of gave a little Cliff Notes version of what I was going through. And she responded back like pretty quickly. And we started emailing, going over the story a little bit. I was telling her a lot of the stuff I'm saying to you guys here, and she collected information. She reached out to the school systems and got the no comment treatment. And then she wrote the story about it, and that was it. It kind of went from there. Well, actually, I think about a week before the story came out too is when I made the comments to the school board. Mm-hmm. So you went to a school board meeting. Yeah. That's what I remembered. Yeah. So they did it. They're still through Zoom here. So it was just logging in on the computer like this. And that was actually an interesting process too, because it's the first time I've ever attended a school board meeting or anything too. And I feel like that set up right off the bat to dissuade anybody from coming in and saying anything.
Right.
Like you log into the Zoom thing that started at 6:00 at night, and they spend about an hour and a half patting each other on the back about this project they're doing or this thing or that. It's all nonsense. And then, we got a few minutes for the for the peons over there that get to make public comments.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And everybody had 2 minutes, and I think I had to wait about 18 people ahead of me until I was able to say anything.
What were the other people saying? What was the
so actually most of the stuff during the one that I was in had to do with like a school that's being closed in like a specific neighborhood. There was some parents advocating for masks still, a few parents that were advocating to remove masks. So we're the only school system in the state of Massachusetts that still has mask requirement in place for the kids.
Still?
Yes.
See,
yes.
I thought Oregon was leading the way on ridiculousness with masks.
Yeah. No, the rest of
Finally
Massachusetts
got rid of them. Finally.
Yeah.
I mean, they had them in the schools. We still have them in doctors' offices or any kind of medical, but I thought Oregon was leading the way on that. Gee.
Yeah.
I just feel free now.
Yeah. We have, I don't know if she's a national name, Michelle Wu. I don't know if you've heard of her at all. She just got elected in November, and she is a ultra progressive who came up working for Liz Warren, and she was on the Boston City Council for the past like 4 or 5 years, and she just became the mayor, and she is out there. Huh? Yeah. So it's going even further left than it already is.
Well, we're so far left here that I don't even know where we are. We're out in another stratosphere. I mean, I'm not kidding. I don't understand anybody having their child in the public system here. It's bad. It's so bad. So, since that time, have you had a chance to look in your kids' school library or do any other research as to what your child, is it just a son?
No, I have a daughter too. She's at the same school. She's in first grade.
Okay.
So this one,
I don't want to make you feel bad. I don't, that's not my purpose. I don't want to make you feel, I'm just talking about here in Oregon. I don't know what's going on in Massachusetts. I'm just telling you what's going on here in Oregon, and it's crazy.
No, it's actually funny. I actually just talked about a story that she had in her class on my podcast the other day, because it was not quite as egregious as the one that was in Brody's class, but with this one from the first grade, it was I think it's called like Isaac's Journey or something like that, but it's basically about a kid who is in class with a broken leg. So they have a cast on, crutches and everything. And the girl who's got the broken leg says to the main character there, why haven't you been in school for the last 2 weeks? Like, you don't have like a cast or anything. Like, what happened? And he explains that his injury you can't see because it's a mental injury that he's had so he's been out of school for 2 weeks because of anxiety and doesn't want to leave his room. And he's worked with his parent and a therapist and a counselor to get through it. And they make the connection that, oh, I have a physical therapist. And he's, oh yeah, well, this is my therapist.
Oh, right.
And it's all, I'm like, in the
so
first
sad.
grade, like
but kids this is going on.
Yeah.
This is going on.
That right there is going to help out the psychologists out there. Like, you get a lot more kids going to see therapists.
Well, it again plants seeds in a child's mind.
Yep.
Do I have anxiety? Do I need a therapist?
Exactly. And that's like we all have anxiety. Like your kid growing up, you're going to have anxious moments. You're going through puberty and your awkward phases.
You're facing so much in today's world. And there's an awful lot out there about why kids are having, I'm sorry, I post all the time about this and talk about it all the time. There's article after article about, since the pandemic, children don't know how to socialize anymore. They don't know how to, what? Excuse me. I know hundreds of homeschool kids that never went to school and they socialized just fine. School does not teach you how to socialize. That's a revelation to most people. You got all your socialization cues and programming before you were 3, subconsciously, before you even knew what that was. You're done. All you do is go to school and try to figure out how to fit your socialization into whatever is going on there. You get it from home. It's done. You're not getting socialized at school. All you're doing is getting inundated with all kinds of stuff that you can't figure out anymore, from a whole bunch of kids that are coming from a lot of dysfunctional homes and being exposed to all kinds of terrible things, drug and alcohol abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, a lot of weird stuff on movies. I mean, there's just so much going on and weird stuff in people's homes these days.
Well, honestly,
with the media,
oh yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's I think with a lot of the issues that come up around children, like the stuff we're talking about, you nailed it with the home, what's going on in the home, and a lot of the programs that get put in place, or these things that they might be trying to come from a good spot from, are all just excuse making for not holding parents accountable, not holding
and victim mentality, and just rampant victim mentality.
Yep.
We are just becoming a victim mentality society. So, well, kudos to you for standing up and waiting 2 hours to have 2 minutes and making phone calls and sending emails. As you say, most parents just go, well, I guess it's just it's just our society today. It's just public schools. I mean,
and I have
I can't afford, they're saying to this, I can't afford to take my kid out of school. I can't put him in a public or in a private school, and I can't homeschool. So I guess it's just what we have to hope for the best,
Yeah.
Well,
I
don't do it.
No, I know. And I have like the thing that really makes me want to get the story out there is I just feel like so many of the other parents within the school and just don't realize that this is actually going on. Yeah. I've had a lot of them talk to me, but like, oh, that's not happening here. And you know what I mean? Like, oh, you might see stuff and you want to just be like, this is proof of it,
It's happening here. Maybe I could ask you what can be said, what can be done to get through to some people, because you know what? I don't have to do this. I'm actually really well off. I'm an empty nester. I can enjoy my grandkids, and I don't have to spend my time learning all this weird tech stuff and Twitter and TikTok and making videos and I don't have to do any of this. My kids they're all, I started, I had 6 kids. I jumped into the boiling water and somehow muddling through, they all ended up in college, lawyers, the whole dentist, the whole deal. They're fine. I had no college education myself. I didn't even use any curriculum because I looked through curriculum and I went, I don't have time for this. I don't have time to prep all this. I mean, 6 kids, I'm going to be at this for 20 hours a day,
Yeah.
So I had to figure out something simple, inexpensive at the time, because my husband's a serial entrepreneur and we were like this financially. So I had to be quick, easy, effective, enjoyable, and not take a lot of time. So I don't mean to put a plug in for, that really wasn't the point of this at all, but I want to give you some hope. That's what I want to give you. I want to give you some hope that there's a way to educate your children. It's not school at home. You're not trying to take what they're doing at the public system, which is really, peer driven, like peer pressure to sit in your seat and don't get punished. And the teacher telling you, this is what you're learning. This is what you have to know to be a successful person, to pass this test and get on to the next grade and then go to college. And if you bring home a bad grade, your mom and dad are gonna be really mad at you. You're failing your peers, blah, blah, blah. You're not trying to do that at home. You can't do that at home. It's the way families work. We don't operate that way. It's really it's interest driven. It's teaching your children how to love to learn.
Yeah.
That means you have to love to learn.
I like learning.
And guess what? You are doing it. Yeah. So if you love to learn, you're teaching your children how to love to learn, and you're sharing your interests together. It's not that you're not setting aside time, because you are, but you don't have to do it hours and hours. So I'm just
Well, I
going to
think-
give you those little teasers because it's easy. It's actually home education is so much easier than school. So much
Yeah.
easier.
Oh, well, that is encouraging.
Yeah.
Well, I think our society nowadays too, it's almost like we're so like sophisticated technologically,
Yeah.
on that level, that we overanalyze and overthink a lot of these things too, where it's bring it back down to the basics. Sounds like what you're kind of saying there too,
Yeah,
with
exactly.
reading and writing, math,
Yeah.
like
Right.
and you can do that a number of different ways.
Right.
Like I like to bake. Me and my daughter will bake something together.
Yeah, that's exactly
math
it.
right there.
Guess
Like
what?
measuring and
Guess what? You're doing it. You're already homeschooling. It's easy. And it's really effective because once a child is set loose to do what all of our brains naturally do, what they do when they come out of the womb is they start looking around going, what can I learn? What is that? I got to go figure that out. And what is this? They are curious and we are curious. And if we just stop telling them, no, you have to learn this. What you want to learn is not important.
Mhm.
What I want you to learn, that's important. We get rid of that and we say, what would you like to learn? I'm going to help you. I'm going to be your mentor and we're going to learn together. If I can't do it, we're going to look something up on YouTube. We're going to go get a book at the library. We're going to go ask somebody and we're going to figure it out. And pretty soon, man, they love to learn. And by the time my kids were about 12, I did nothing with them.
Wow.
I didn't do anything. They were just doing it. And by the time they were 15, they went to community college and they were graduating with honors and I didn't do anything.
Wow.
Once you let them loose and learn, and then you say, if you, would you like to learn math? No. Okay. Well, let's go cook. Well, let's go build something. Well, let's go. Pretty soon there's things that they want to do where they have to learn math.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you have some state testing that you have to do, you might have to address that too. You might have to do 20 minutes of math a day to get them to pass the test at a minimum level so that you don't get dinged by the state. If, depending, I don't know what your state laws are, but most of us can do a minimum amount of whatever we have to do for a few minutes a day. Usually the standards are so low on what they have to pass in order to continue to homeschool that anybody can do it, even if you sit around watching movies all day, which one of the first laws is to eliminate the screens, but that's the hard part.
Yeah.
Or severely limit them, right? If they're going to be home. But anyway, I just want to make sure that you leave feeling like if you had to do this, you could do it. And you can, of course, call me anytime and I'll help you through that because you've been such a gracious guest. I would just happy to help you through that, or your wife or whatever, get you started.
Oh, it's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
So what are you going to do from here on out? What is your plan of action from here on out?
So still in limbo.
Because they won't honor your religious beliefs.
Correct. So
you can't opt them out of stuff, right? I mean, you can't say
no. Wow. And
they don't even tell you it's happening.
No. So that was another frustrating aspect of it. In the ruling that they decided was that this story was not considered a sexual health class, which obviously it was an English class, and the story was deemed age appropriate by them. So I'm like, wait a minute, like, okay, just because it's technically not sex ed class doesn't mean that what they're teaching in that class is not sexual education. Of course it is. Like, how is that not?
Wow, that was sneaky. That's really sneaky.
Yeah.
They did it in English class, so it's not.
I think that's the move. I mean, look at the story we heard from Florida, right? They were sneaking the CRT into math class. Right. So they'll do it anyway. And actually, you touched on it when you're talking about the requirements or the what's listed in your
state educational requirements. Yeah.
So even like that, it's tricky the way it's worded, or
Yeah.
it's a document that's 60 pages long.
Mhm.
So
Right. Yeah. You try to pick out what's really going on.
exactly.
And then in the end, the truth is, even if you went through all those standards and you said, okay, I'm okay with that. There's no CRT in there. There's no sexual anything that I disapprove of. There's no climate change, because climate change, of course, is the third pillar of the destruction of our society. I'm sorry. I have really strong opinions on climate change, because climate change it destroys capitalism, right? It's about, we have to have all government control of all industry through regulation. We're not going to take over like true communism, but we're going to make sure that we have it so highly regulated that, and based on our safety, taking care of the climate, our carbon footprint. And we're going to make sure that no cars can have, are big enough to have more than maybe 1 or 2 children that you can afford, right?
Yep.
So this is destroying capitalism. The CRT, of course, destroys our law, because everything's racist. Everything invented by a white man or white people is racist, has to go. We can't have the Constitution, can't have anything invented by a white person. It's destructive to our society.
Well, unless those white men decided to rule in favor of Roe.
Right.
Right.
And then that's okay.
Then it's okay.
Yeah.
So
right.
It's
CRT,
convenient.
Brian, CRT is so illogical. Have you ever read How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi?
No,
you need to
just
read it.
Seen like, seen the parts that get talked about.
Sensei, you need to know your enemy. Okay. Throughout the whole book, it's all everything has to do with white people, religion, the law, education, everything has to go, because it's all racist. Except we need you to legislate all of the benefits of white society to the blacks.
Yeah.
But if you try to help a black person, you're a savior. You're just trying to be a savior. Well, then I'm sorry, we can't legislate stuff for you then. None of it makes any sense. I mean, it just goes in circles. Either you're a savior or you're a racist.
And that's learned, and that's learned. Racism is learned from somewhere, from things like that, from parents, from community.
Right. So CRT destroys our law, and then global warming destroys our capitalism, and the last is the transgenderism destroys the church.
Oh yeah.
You take out those 3 things, and we have no society anymore. You take out really any one of them, and you do. But we're really getting hit from all those sides.
Oh yeah, and they're all there. They're all destroying family, right?
And they're all about destroying
that
the family
structure. That's where, because the government is going to be able to come in and be mommy and daddy for you. There'll be teacher, mom, dad.
And we had all been lulled, and we have all been lulled into this thing like, gosh, we have experts at the school. They know what's best. I mean, so we can't really be getting in there and trying to tell them their job.
Yeah.
Yes, we can, and we better.
Yeah.
We're
dependent on credentials, like the entire, right? Everyone needs to have this credential, that credential to give them legitimacy. Where
Brian,
it's like, wait a minute, how about a conversation that will tell me what you know?
Do you think you could teach your first grade daughter how to read?
Absolutely. I think I have.
That's right.
My wife has. That's what we've done.
Yeah. And people can.
Yeah.
People can. And once, like I said, they learn to love to learn at a certain age, they just take off. You teach the basics, they take off. And you're sitting there going, hey, what would you like to do together? And they go, let's go learn how to weld. Let's go learn how to build a house. Let's go learn how to, horseback ride. And they learn. And it's just fabulous. So much fun. I encourage you to explore it.
Yeah.
Really.
I mean, I keep saying at parties and cookouts with some of our friends, and I guess I say it a little tongue in cheek, but like if someone took me up on it, I think I really wouldn't be. My wife will give me the old elbow, but I want to.
It is changing a culture.
But I wish, like I say to her, I'm like almost like that vision of living on a commune with 3 or 4 other families, or
You don't have
just
to
in
do
the
that.
same neighborhood with 2 or 3 other families,
Sure.
and share that responsibility of
Yeah,
homeschooling, where
it's
it's
called
like,
a
okay, I have
pod.
Mondays,
Yeah,
you
it's
have
called a pod.
Tuesdays.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one word for it, a pod, or you're just doing your own little private school.
Mhm. Well, and the thing is too, a lot of our friends, and even family, that we have teachers,
Yeah.
like, where it's like you see the struggle that they go through after having a child, and then having to make that decision to now put the child in daycare somewhere so they can go back
Yeah.
to teach
Other kids.
in school, where it's like, wait a minute, if we could figure out a way, and it all ends up becoming money dependent at the end of the day. But even still, you're only coming out with a little bit on top after paying for the daycare and all the other stuff.
Right.
Where
Right.
it's
Think
like, wait
about
a
it.
minute, we could,
Right. Think
you
about
know,
it. The meals, the exhaustion. So you're going out to eat a lot, and just add it
yeah,
all up and
yeah.
figure it out. Right. So another side business that I'm doing with a partner is a website called Owl Home Education Network. It's going to be like an Angie's List for all these teachers coming out of the system, and
Okay.
parents bringing their kids out of the system to connect and to form pods, private schools, and tutoring. And I mean, if you really felt like your child needed help in an area, or you don't have time, or you and your wife are working, band together with some of your friends, bring them in and do an hour a day, or do 1 day a week, or do something. You hire somebody
Hmm.
a little bit, and everybody gets the benefits of that, right? The teacher, because they don't have to be, they can do this in person, they can do it online, hybrid. There's millions of ways to go with this,
Yeah.
depending on what people want.
I think the COVID lockdowns and all of that too was, I think, obviously an eye-opening experience for a lot of parents, seeing firsthand the stuff kids were being taught, but also, to me, it seemed like a missed opportunity in a way to teach some of the kids like valuable life skills too, like
Yeah.
some of the stuff we've already touched on, where instead of like stressing everybody out, teachers, schools, parents, kids, to getting them to do what we're doing right here and sit there in front of a screen,
Right.
why not make assignments that are okay, bake something and figure out the math problems, or
Yeah.
learn something out, go on a hike somewhere and write about 3 things that you saw, or something,
Yeah.
whatever. Like,
Do a little research on
yeah,
that bug and that plant and
yeah,
that
yeah.
cloud and whatever. Yeah.
Learn how to do like your own laundry or something, anything.
Right.
There's a
Go
million
out and
different things
stare
we
at the
could have
stars.
done.
Go out and stare at
Yeah.
the stars at night together.
Well, we wouldn't be able to see them here. I'm in the
Never.
city.
Well, in Oregon, it's kind of hard too. It's true. We got to go to Eastern Oregon to see any stars. But anyway, it's the world, the world. There's so
Yeah.
much to do.
Yeah.
Gosh. Well, I wish you luck on your journey, and tell me a little bit about your podcast, and I'll let you go.
Okay. So I just the podcast, like I said, it's called Right and Wrong. Because I think it's just, to me, everything's boiled down to that, where we can sit here and have the debates, and people can throw the credentials at you left and right. But at the end of the day, let's break something down to the simplest form.
Right.
It's either right or it's wrong.
Nice.
To do
I
a lot
love
of
it.
stuff. So that's kind of where I thought came up with that thing, the name for it. And I pretty much try to pitch it as just talking about the issues of the day, by using common sense. And again, it's part of that. Okay, we don't need to just sit here and talk in circles with a word salad of terms. We can narrow it down and just, what do you think? Never mind telling me what the the doctor might think,
The
or what
social
this person,
scientists.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, when we talk about the masks and stuff, I don't care what Fauci thinks about
Yeah.
masks anymore. Tell me how it's going to be, or what do you
Yeah.
think? Do you think that's preventing something?
Right.
Do you think that sounds
Is this
reasonable?
making you feel better? And that's the
Exactly.
thing, is it most of it goes down to having people feel better about
Mhm.
any given thing. That's frustrating. So
Yeah.
frustrating.
Yeah.
Stop
So
it. Are you
we
telling
pretty
me a
much do
scientific
that.
fact, or are you telling me a heart fact? What is this?
One of the another aspect that I'm having a lot of fun with the podcast too is that I'm doing it with a friend of mine who I've known since we were 5. We went to Catholic school together, but he relocated about 5-6 years ago to a suburb of Atlanta. So he's down there in Georgia. I'm jealous that he's in a red state like that. but it's been great because it just forces us to talk and kind of hang out even more than we do. Like we'll visit each other. I bring my family down there usually twice a year, and we'll spend like a week down with his family and everything. But he's more skilled with like the technical side of stuff, like that we were mentioning.
He's got he's got all the extra sounds.
Absolutely,
I love it.
Like,
I love it.
I'm lost with all that stuff. So he created the catchy theme song that we have, like pulling clips of Kamala Harris cackling and our favorite segment that we do is at the end of the show. We always end it with a "Come on, man" is what we call it. Yeah, and that's we'll play awesome. A clip maybe of a lib from TikTok, one of those things. And the only thing you can say to the nonsense that they're telling you is, "Come on, man."
Come on, man.
So,
isn't technology
it's been
wonderful?
fun kind of working. Yeah, absolutely. So, and both of us, fathers of 2, trying to get ahead of the curve a little bit. I'm further into it than he is. His kids are younger than mine, but ideally, fingers crossed, I would love to be able to turn this into like a daily show. We do it weekly right now, but I would love to be able to do this type of stuff full time and focus all of our energy on it. So
I think
we'll see where it goes.
No, I think you're a natural. Keep at it. That's what they say. They just, they say, just keep at it. Yeah. And we don't have enough voices out there talking about this. We just need to get a tsunami going. I really believe that. The silent majority that's just been sitting kind of lulled, watched Netflix and kind of trusting. I know very smart people who say, well, the government's not trying to harm you. I go, wow. What is it going to take? What is it going to take?
I just want to control every aspect of
your life.
No worries.
Of your life. Yeah. But, some of us have zero tolerance for a lack of freedom. I mean, like any little bit, it just annoys me to the end of the earth. I just have no tolerance for somebody infringing on my freedoms. So I guess we need us extremists out there to keep things balanced.
I know, right? I love that you said. No, sorry. I love that you said silent majority, because that was another thing. Obviously, I don't think you just decide to start doing this and broadcasting your stuff on a whim. So it's been a year in the making, just of conversations and just more and more being around friends, family, colleagues, and realizing that like we all think this, like, we all think it's weird,
but everybody's just
but exactly, nobody wants to be the one to actually, say it. So I was like, hey, you know what? I don't care. Whatever. If people don't like me, I'm used to that. So
me too.
I'll say it.
It's like, I don't mean to offend people. It just comes naturally.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, like sticks and stones, like we said at the beginning, right? Offense, like,
why do we live in America if we can't speak?
Yeah,
why are we living here? And guess what? It's being taken away. Stop being silent, right?
Yep, absolutely. So,
well, you're a great man. I'm happy for you, and I applaud what you're doing. And I'm going to be a big fan. And I just know, just keep with it. I'm going to too. I don't have like a giant audience either. And we're going to hit our stride. That's what's going to happen.
Absolutely.
All right, my new
we'll
friend.
Go to the top together then.
That's right. And we're going to both say, yeah, I knew them when.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to happen. All right. Well, take care. Good luck. And really seriously reach out to me if you want any help at all. Okay.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. And same for you. Not that I have much to offer in the way of help on my end, but you have my information, and I'd love to stay in contact and connect again if we can.
Okay, Brian, you never know. Take care, my friend.
All right.
Talk
Thanks.
to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.